Heyo, Almost Plumber here. We have a special episode of Newsgenics today. The review embargo has been lifted, and we'll be looking at some of the reviews as well as a lot of the content shown within them. Off the top, I should say spoiler alert. I don't know how late game some of this footage is, and I will be discussing all the classes shown thus far, which may be all of them. So watch at your own discretion. Anyway, though, in addition to the reviews, we'll be looking at side quest content, house bosses, the necromancer, psychic, monk, and tinkerer, and butcher, as well as house content and breeding and stuff. So I'll have footage in the background from the reviews of the newly shown classes and areas, and then also I'll be discussing some of that after I get through the reviews. So far the reviews are absolutely glowing, with an overall score of 90% on Open Critic and Metacritic. IGN 9, GameSpot 9, Mobilytics 9.5, PC Gamer 92, TechRaptor 10, Noisy Pixel 9.5. It's safe to say that the critical reception is quite good. So far, the amount of content and depth of systems is exactly as expansive as reported, with 12 plus classes being shown and branching paths throughout the campaign. So far, after reading and watching through several reviews, though, almost all of the negatives come down to two main things. Firstly, some people simply don't like the tone, humor, and art of an Edmund project. This is kind of inarguable, it comes down to personal preference, but it is good to hear as a complaint, which it's a complaint that I don't personally care about. The other main complaint is the degree of randomness being too high, whether it's the events, weather effects, or some of the enemies encountered. Most reviewers agreed that the degree of randomness between runs was too punishing sometimes. Now, I can't comment on how fair this critique is because I haven't played the game personally, but I will say I do prefer high variance roguelites generally. Of course, it's going to feel like you're being cheated out of a win or a run at some point with these kind of systems in any roguelite, but I'll have to see how reasonable I find the amount of randomness when the game comes out. Regardless, though, the general conclusion that was while the RNG could be unfair, this is the result of a massive amount of content, variety, and systems interacting in unexpected ways. So it could still be interesting itself. Overall, I'm very pleased to hear how positive the feedback has been and that the game is indeed incredibly deep, vast, and cool. Okay, so let's look at some of the other stuff now and footage from the reviews. So this is a side quest item. As far as we know, we get these from Dr. Beanies, maybe some other NPCs. But this allows us to permanently charm a creature. Quite interesting. It also tells you to bring it to a specific area. So perhaps this is some way to unlock other features. Maybe this is another way to unlock class item or class skills. We also see a necromancer level up, showing a lot of its kind of interesting summoner chops. Dig any tile to unearth 4 zombies, spawn in a ghost. This one's pretty interesting. Down an ally in range and steal their mana. They don't get injured. It would be interesting to get a mage setup where you just use them as a human battery for your necromancer if they get the most powerful spells. We also see the Tinkerer class spawning a Robo-Cat, as well as the Psychic class with its Magnet Pull ability, as well as a Mimic ability, which looks quite interesting, although we don't get to see the gameplay, and Gravity Wave. I have to say, I wasn't super hyped about the Psychic until just now, upon seeing a bit of footage about it, but it looks very interesting and like a extremely cool caster class. Anyhow, to end off here, we have a little bit of footage of the Guillotina fight. Anyway, for today's positivity, just a quick one. Take care of yourself, whatever that means for you, and try to enjoy the simple things in the day to day. Not every day can be a momentous occasion, but every day could be a good one. Anyway, see you guys later.